Okay, there we go. Okay, welcome to week 9. Great conversations with hello to everybody that I have not spoken to. Just want to say, I've reflected a lot myself over the last, over the whole semester, and I've thought about last week, especially. Um, like I said to begin with, y'all have come such a long ways. And even if I've had to be the tough love that I've had to give, to some or whatever, please know that that's exactly what it was. It was tough love. Um, and I'm so proud. There's not one of you I'm not proud of. I am so proud of where you were and where you are, and more proudly of where I know you're going. And I know that, next week when I finally cut the last string of the umbilical cord, um, I know that I am releasing 13 people that if you choose to, you can go out there and you can help change the world. And that's what I wanted. So, and I'll save the rest of my speech for next week when we come together. But let's talk a little bit about what this evening is going to look like. We're dealing with our digital competencies, and we're doing all of them tonight. So we do have a pretty packed night. Amber's going to be dealing with digital competencies 1 and 2. She'll start out. Renee is going to do digital competencies 3 and 4. And then we're going to end with Paulette. Keep Paulette in your prayers. Paulette's brother is very, very sick with cancer. They basically have, I think, hospice may have already come in. They're probably going to move a hospital bed into her mother's home. And it could be today. It was going to be, Mandy, I think they were probably looking at that today. It's just a very emotional time, for them and the family. What they thought was going to be maybe a year and a half could be just days now. So please keep Paulette in your thoughts and your prayers. And, maybe just send her a text message or an email or something, let her know you're thinking about her and that you're praying for her. With this, with digital companies 1 and 2, Malika and Liz will be doing the peer reviews on that. For Renee's, Mayra and Amber will be doing hers. Amber, you've got double duty tonight. And then for Paulette's, it'll be Mandy and Dina. They'll be doing theirs. And then that will bring closure to all of that. I don't have anything to say about the PSYOP because we said it last week. Everybody's through. Just a reminder, the last things that are due will be your competency analysis. And a lot of you have already completed this. Your competency analysis, your competency folio, your School of Ed dispositions, and your internship logs. And unless you have gotten permission because you're working on something special like Liz is doing, all of this is due by July 21st. Liz is working on an additional certification, and in where her district where she works, she has to actually show that she has done an internship at the high school level to be able to get high school certification credit for that in South Carolina, right, Liz? That's the way they do it there. So she will be doing that. So a reminder, assignment 9 next week is your last case study due by this Sunday night. And then we will do the same thing on Tuesday when we meet. We will have a round robin discussion about the case study. So, be prepared for that. When we get through with the 3 presentations, we won't spend a lot of time, but just be thinking about this. I want us to go back, and I want us to, you did an amazing job on the Strengths Finder assignment. I want to, to go around, and I want to give everybody just maybe a minute to just briefly say, what was the biggest nugget that you took from that, and I want you to to say something about your personal strengths finder assessment. And I want you to, was there anything that stood out, any surprises or whatever? And again, remember, we don't want to belabor this, so maybe a minute, for everybody, and then we'll move on. Okay. So with that in mind, I am going to turn it over to, who did I say was first? Amber. Amber is yours.
All right. All right. Can everybody see my presentation? All right. So my name is Amber Pennington. I am here to discuss the first and second competencies in the North Carolina Digital Learning Competencies for School Administrators. And, we live in an increasingly digital world, especially since COVID happened and everything has really gone online. And school administrators should be at the front of that. They should be the leaders in the world. And all too often, unfortunately, teachers and staff and students are taking the lead and they're outperforming administrators in the building. And so that's where these competencies come in to help to make sure that administrators are being lead learners in the digital era. All right. So first, I want to discuss what the North Carolina Digital Learning Competencies are, because we have not discussed these yet. The competencies are for school administrators, and they outline the essential skills and knowledge that educational leaders in North Carolina are supposed to possess. And these skills and the skills and knowledge are to help them to effectively integrate technology into their own educational practices and those practices of their school. So these competencies, they're designed to guide administrators to using the technology to enhance teaching, enhance learning, and also to manage their schools more effectively. These competencies are providing a framework for administrators to lead effectively in technology-rich educational environments, because that's what we want our teachers to be doing in the classroom as well, and ensuring that they're prepared to address the challenges and also the opportunities that are presented by digital learning and the innovation that comes with it. So they also are there to help educational practices with state and national standards to make sure that we are meeting those standards by integrating technology consistently and correctly across our schools. So I want to move into why these competencies are important, because sometimes, when we are being graded or we are being observed, we want to know, well, all the time, I want to know, why is it important? Why do I need to do this? And so these competencies for school administrators, they're crucial. They are crucial for administrators because they outline all of the skills and knowledge that educational leaders need in today's technology-driven world. Because if the leaders in the school are not showing this innovative technology, then the teachers may not be as well. And that means that their students are going to be behind. So the North Carolina Digital Learning Competencies for School Administrators are important because they empower educational leaders to use technology to benefit their students, their educators, and the entire school and community. So by using this technology, administrators are making their school more effective. And they provide a structured approach that ensures that administrators are proficient in technology themselves and that they're capable of strategically integrating it into their school's operations. Because if the principals, if the administrators are not able to do that, again, they're not leading their teachers in the right direction. So the two competencies that I had were competency 1 and 2. And these competencies have to do with vision and strategy and content and instruction. So standard 1, which focuses on vision and strategy, says that administrators will create and communicate a vision for digital teaching and learning in their schools, embedding it into the strategic plan for implementation and execution. And standard 2 is for content and instruction, and it says that administrators will be the lead learners in their schools, modeling appropriate instructional practices and ensuring content encompasses appropriate digital tools, resources, and pedagogies. And these competencies are quite subjective, so they are easy to interpret multiple ways. So I did want to, over the next 2 slides, really go into and break down what does it measure and why are they important. So the first competency, which is our vision and strategy, is really measuring an administrator's ability to create a plan for digital learning, but also to communicate that vision with their school. Okay, and specifically doing that in the strategic plan. It also measures an administrator's ability to develop and communicate a meaningful plan and direction for using technology in learning that promotes, prioritizes, and guarantees that fair and lasting access that all of our students and teachers need to these technology resources, ensuring that all learners can fully participate in the digital learning environment and really preparing them for the future and making sure that they're globally prepared when they graduate. And then the final thing that it measures is an administrator's ability to guide the school improvement planning process. So not only are they creating and communicating the plan, but they also have to guide the school improvement planning process. And that is to focus on personalized learning with support from digital tools and environment. So we can see that this digital teaching, these digital tools are very important for our students. So it is important because an administrator who possesses these abilities are well positioned to foster that dynamic, that inclusive educational environment that is really preparing their students for future success. They play a crucial role in driving educational innovation, promoting equity, and enhancing the overall student learning experiences so that their students, when they graduate, are prepared to compete against students from all over the world. The second competency goes into away from creating that vision and communicating the vision to the actual content and instruction. And so this one measures several things as well. First, it measures an administrator's willingness to serve as lead learners. And I thought that the, idea of it being a willing service is important because it has to be something that administrators are doing on their own. It's not something that they're being forced to do. And they're doing this in their schools, demonstrating effective instructional practices and ensuring that the content incorporates these digital tools and resources and teaching methods that their teachers can take with them into the classroom to ensure that they're also doing these practices as well. It also measures the administrator's ability to encourage and demonstrate positive digital citizenship, along with implementing those practical policies for communicating and collaborating with their stakeholders to ensure responsible and effective digital teaching and learning practices across the school, and establishing and utilizing systems for acquiring information, evaluating information, and their teachers and their students, creating and implementing all of this digital content effectively. And then the final thing that it's measuring is the administrator's ability to proactively promote and enhance these digital competencies for teachers. So it's something that they're constantly thinking about and planning for the future. How can I promote this? How can I make it better for my teachers? So they do this by expanding the access, opportunities, and resources for professional growth, as well as developing or acquiring that instructional material and those systems for analyzing and sharing data to make sure that their school is effective. So this is important because administrators need to display these responsibilities to make sure that they are creating a supportive and an innovative learning environment where technology is not just used to make things easier or to make it more fun, but is used strategically to improve educational outcomes and to prepare the students for future success in a digital world, because unfortunately technology is not going away and it's only getting more complicated. So we really just have to ensure that our students are able to fulfill the demands. So by fulfilling these roles, administrators contribute to the overall effectiveness and success of their schools. So the whole point of these two competencies is making sure that we have a school environment where our teachers and our students really feel empowered to use technology strategically, and so that they can really compete with that global market that we are competing with. So, very quickly about my school, I did my internship at a high school in South Carolina. And it's a beautiful school, two-story building, very rural area. The building is less than 20 years old, so it's very new in most high school standards, and it's very well kept. We serve approximately 750 students. On any day, we may have around 500 students actually on campus, with the number that go to our career center and who have dual enrollment with the tech. Our class sizes are capped at 25 students, so there's no teacher who will have more than 25 students in their classroom. NCHS has the best test scores in the district. Approximately 90% of our students are considered proficient in English and 70% in math, which in South Carolina, those numbers are very good. Our student body is not very diverse. 66% of our students are white, 18% are Black, 12% are Hispanic, 4% are multiracial, and 0.7% are Asian. Our staff is even less diverse than our students, with only 6 minority teachers in the entire school. And 2 of those are Hispanic. We have 1 Asian teacher and 3 Black teachers. Our staff mostly consists of female teachers. 90% of our teachers have more than 3 years of experience, and 80% have advanced degrees, including 3 teachers with a doctorate. Our school is like many high schools in the South. Our priority does seem to stick with sports, and other extracurricular activities and groups are often left out. Students and staff do not participate in extracurricular activities. School spirit is very, very limited at our school, which when Douglas did his presentation about, when the football team is winning, the school spirit is better. I think that we can see that because our football team is definitely not in the winning streak right now. And MCHS and our district, they were not one-to-one with technology until after COVID. So they are a little bit behind some of the other schools in the surrounding area. Okay. So going back to our competencies and what does this look like for MCHS overall, I want to start with vision and strategy. Although our climate survey results there are super good, for the most part, everything was very positive. Unfortunately, there are no specific questions on digital learning. So I did go back to the climate survey and just tried to pull some of the things that could be connected. So according to our climate survey, 98% of our teachers do believe that the faculty and staff have a shared vision. However, unfortunately, at NCHS, there is no vision or strategic plan for digital learning in place. All teachers are given the freedom to choose the digital tools, research, and content they use in their own classrooms. Each classroom is different, even within the departments, even within the same content area. The school district also doesn't have a vision or plan that has been communicated to teachers, but we do have 3 digital learning requirements. So I believe that is our current attempt right now of having that plan in place of what digital learning should look like. And so in that, we only actually have 3 digital resources and tools that we are currently using within the district in the school. And the first one is Schoology. The second one is Performance Matters. And the third, we use online platforms like Apex and SC Virtual. So at MCHS, Schoology is our online classroom platform. It's very similar to Google Classroom if you're not familiar with Schoology. And on this, it is a requirement that all teachers post weekly and daily agendas, interactive classroom activities, notes, and videos. Unfortunately, the term interactive is very subjective. And so, for the most part, many of our teachers, the most interactive activity that they put in their online classroom is a document in the CAMU program, which allows you to write things on PDFs. And then our second one is Performance Matters, which is a new platform that the district has began using for common assessments. So at MCHS, all ELA teachers must utilize Performance Matters to administer their common assessments and classroom assessments. And this platform is meant to mimic the EOC platform, which they think is going to help the students to do better on their ESC testing. Unfortunately, most of our teachers were not trained on the Performance Matters, and it's not very user friendly. So it's not been used strategically or effectively. And it also does not closely mimic the EOC platform from what I understand the EOC platform looks like. And then we do use Apex and SE Virtual, which are both online learning platforms. They have units and lessons and assessments that students can take to either gain credit for a class or to gain content for a class. So at MCHS, I do believe this is probably one of the most effective uses of a digital tool that we have, that students who are failing mid-semester in an EOC course are allowed to improve their grade to a 60 by completing these units that their teachers choose on the Apex platform. And these lessons do very closely relate to what teachers are teaching in the classroom. So they really are gaining content that they either missed because of absences or just not paying attention, or they just needed some extra help in that area. So they can improve their grade to passing mid-semester by completing those units. And then students who at the end of a semester who receive an incomplete for any core class are given the opportunity to receive credit through SC Virtual, which is very similar. Their teachers have units and lessons and assessments that are picked out that would offer them very similar content to the class. And this has really helped many of our students to graduate on time and really given them the motivation that they need to keep going. You know, a lot of time, unfortunately, students who are failing feel like they just are out of control of that situation, and a lot of times they give up. So these two aspects of our vision and our strategy have really improved the motivation of some of our struggling students and has really just allowed them to be successful. And here are just some examples of that. And when a student is failing, we do send a letter home to parents letting them know that they will be part of the Apex content recovery. I said the word that they are allowed to do it, but really they are forced to do it. Even if they don't complete the lessons, they are forced to spend the hour in the room, and they have the opportunity to do it or not, but they are forced to do it. And then we just keep track of if they were present or if they were absent, and we keep track of when they finish their lessons. Many of our students are there for math and English because usually there's a correlation. If they're really doing poorly in math, they are also in our school seem to do poorly in English at the same time. So overall, with the content and instruction, according to our climate survey, 92% of our teachers believe that we do have sufficient materials. 96% of our teachers believe that we have sufficient computers for instructional use. Our students would probably not agree with that because our computers are not all up to date and some of them are poor quality. 87% of our teachers believe that we have sufficient resources that are available to allow teachers to take advantage of professional development, which is probably one of the lowest percentages in our climate survey. Because again, with things like performance matters, a lot of our teachers were not given the opportunity to do that professional development so that they could implement that strategy effectively. So, so what does content and instruction look like? All of our Mid-Carolina students are provided a Chromebook at the beginning of the year. Students who are dual enrolled over the summer are allowed to keep it all year, but usually those students have their own computer. All students are provided access to Schoology, which is their online classroom platform. All teachers must post, again, their daily and weekly agendas in Schoology. However, unfortunately, there are no consequences for teachers who don't follow this. Students who receive an incomplete in a core class, again, are allowed to complete it using SC Virtual. And then those who are failing EOC courses use Apex. So we are in compliance with the digital learning mandated by the state as well when it comes to things like our computer classes and personal finance. Mostly in South Carolina, the computer class, Discovering Computer Science, has become more of a coding class, but we are in compliance with that. So some examples of content and instruction just goes back to really multiple things that I've already talked about. It is a good thing that we have the one-on-one technology so that all of our students are provided with the device. They're allowed to use their devices to complete their online assignments and tasks. They can take them home. Most of us make it to where they can download their assignments so that they can work on it even if they don't have internet at home. And again, the Apex and SC Virtual platforms are allowing our students to make up that content and instruction that they missed, whether it was due to just struggling in the class, absences, or whatever the reason was, giving them that opportunity to make up that content and receive instruction through the lessons and the videos that the platforms offer students. And then again, Schoology, which is honestly a really great platform if it's used effectively, because it allows students to access their work, their grades, and feedback all in one place. And all students, again, have access to that as well. And so here are just some examples of what a Schoology classroom may look like, and also examples of our content recovery lessons, where each semester teachers go through and they choose in Apex and SC Virtual which units, which lessons, and which assessments students would need to complete in order to recover either their content or recover the credit. And so we keep it in a really nice and neat Google spreadsheet with each subject there. It's color coded by unit, and we really try very hard to make sure that it aligns with the curriculum that they would receive in class. And so again, that's probably the most effective use of a digital tool that we have. Unfortunately, the administrators at our school are not being the leader learners that we need them to be, and they're not really showing us or integrating any type of technology outside of the things that we're already using. However, we do have some strengths when it comes to digital learning. Our administrators do a really great job of providing teachers with the tools and resources and content. If we ask for it, we are given it. So purchasing those digital tools and resources at teacher request is definitely a strength as well. And then using digital tools and resources and content to communicate with our stakeholders, that is one of our school's strengths. They do a fantastic job of keeping everybody up to date on what's going on, whether it's through social media or emails or texting apps. We really do keep our stakeholders involved. And then 3 areas or opportunities for improvement that I noted. We need to include digital learning in our strategic plan. And in order to do this, we need to add this to our current School Improvement Council agenda. This needs to be addressed during our school improvement meetings, and we need to ensure that it's in our plan. Number two, demonstrating the use of innovative and effective digital learning tools, resources, and content needs to start happening. And so that can be addressed by making sure that we're using these things, we're incorporating these things during our professional development and staff meetings. I've always felt like it was a great way to implement this. You implement one strategy or one resource or one tool during each faculty meeting, and then you allow teachers to implement it in their own classroom and then provide you feedback. Some tools and resources and content are not right for everybody. So I don't think, that it necessarily has to be something that they're forced to do, but something that they should try. And then three, holding teachers accountable for utilizing our online resources with fidelity, with consistency, making sure that all of our teachers are utilizing Schoology properly, that they are including interactive activities and truly interactive activities using Nearpod and these other great tools that are online. And then we would do this by creating a feedback form. So when the administrators are observing these online classrooms, which they do each week on Monday, they go through they are supposed to go through everybody's Schoology to make sure that everything's there. So by implementing a feedback form for these observations, they'll have data to show who is implementing it and who isn't. And then overall, because we are still not meeting most of the things that are measured in competencies 1 and 2, I would rate our school as developing in these areas. So we definitely need to do some work, and we need to look at our data and see which areas we can work on immediately. And that is it.
Amber, first of all, excellent job. I really like the way you started off because you basically addressed all the question words: who, what, when, where, all of those things. But I like the way you led in to with a great understanding of what the North Carolina digital competencies were, why you had to have them, who they were.
Devin, I thought you are breaking up.
Okay, can you hear me now? Oh Lord.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yeah, we've got clouds outside, so that's why. So, but I'll be just a minute anyway. But your school reminds me a little bit, even though it's much smaller, of Mandy's school. As far as as it appears, everything is really way up there, and Mandy's school was the same way. But that comes with its own set of challenges. And I think you have identified,
Yes,
a lot of those challenges. Um, you know, the outside people looking in probably would never notice any of that. But as
they
you
wouldn't.
have looked inside, you realize, and you have been very clear about it, you know, that even though we're up here, we still have not arrived. And so,
Right.
I like that. I hope that because you have done such a thorough job looking at this, I hope your administration will allow you to be a part of a task force to move forward with this, because I think it really could, because of the age we're living in, I think it could really make a difference in making, you know, good to great, as Jim Collins says. I think it could take you to that next level easily with some attention to these things. Couldn't help but to think about, I don't know if all of you caught on to this or not, but I thought about, as you were looking at um, your three um, digital tools, the Schoology, what was it? Performance Matters, Apex, looking at South Carolina Virtual. I couldn't help but to think about the AppTel, and when you had to do your annotated bibliography, and you had to look at the digital tools, and you basically explained it that way, and you were very transparent with, you know, what you thought was good and what you didn't think was working, and and honestly, if performance matters is out there and it's not working, then I would have that discussion, either we need to do something about it or we need to take it off the plate. You know, I,
Exactly.
I,
Yeah.
I I would do that. Um, Again, you did a great job. Any comments or questions for
Thank
Amber at this time? Anybody?
Amber, I think you did a very thorough job. Even though you work in a high school setting, I'm in an elementary, and I could really relate to a lot of the things you said, especially with personalized learning. One of the things in our school is with the technology, the teachers think that the technology should be teaching the students. No, it's there to enhance the teaching or learning that is taking place, but not necessarily replacing. So really great on some of those key ideas or key points. No matter what, whether you're in an elementary setting or a high school, very relatable, but you did an excellent job. Thank you.
Well said, Dina. I thought about something else
And
that
Amber,
you
I just wanted to jump in and also, sorry, Dr. Seven, I think we're intertwined with our
go ahead. You go ahead.
sharing.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. I just wanted to share that it connected with what Dr. Sedman said initially about his appreciation for teaching this course. I think your point about how administration is supposed to be modeling these technologies was probably one of the highlights, because I think that also connects, like Dina said, to any setting. And the fact that sometimes when we get out of the classroom, we can, not be involved in those best practices. And so that really stuck with me with the importance of doing that. And I think you've, showcased and highlighted that well.
Well,
Thank you.
Elizabeth, I don't have to say anything now because that's exactly what I was going to say. So great job. Great job. So with that, again, great job, Amber. Renee, I turn it over to you.
All right. How's everyone doing?
Doing great.
If it'll come up.
Renee, I couldn't help but to think just a few minutes ago, I was looking at this area. It just was the luck of the draw. This is right up your alley, isn't it? This is what you do, isn't it? A lot of
Bit.
this.
A little bit. A little bit, but I'm gonna go back to what Stacy said earlier. I'm in a classroom full of smart people, so it's it's a little nerve-wracking. Anyway, I have the digital companies as well. I'm Renee Willis. As many of you know, if it will go. There we go. All right, so I knew Amber was, I had talked to her earlier. I knew she was going to go over the digital competencies and why they're important. So we had collaborated on that. Thank you, Amber, for doing that. I didn't find it necessary to go through this again. So I did omit that section. So I'm going to move right into what I have. I have the human capacity and culture. So what is it? Human capacity and culture is just administrators will leverage digital tools and resources to further develop a positive culture of learning that seeks continuous improvement among staff and students. That's what it says verbatim. Now, when you're looking at the digital competencies, sorry about that. Can everyone see the last one? Okay. When you're looking at the digital competencies, they're actually unpacked. So what I wanted to do was go in and look at each one and unpack each one. When I was doing this, I really wanted to look at the verbs and highlight and see what was it that they meant. So the first one, this particular standard has a 4 that goes along with it. It's how do administrators allocate time, resources, and access to support digital learning efforts, maximize capabilities of the school staff, and ensure ongoing professional growth for not just themselves, but for the staff as well. It also further goes into how do administrators provide learner-centered environments equipped with appropriate learning resources, including digital technologies to meet the diverse need of all learners. I couldn't help but to think about this one, when we have our students that need those accessible technologies, how are they learning? And that was one of the big things that really kind of popped in my mind. And how well do teachers know how to use these accessible technologies? And I'll get into that a little bit later. It also goes into build technology. How well does it build technology, pedagogy, and content knowledge capacity in current staff members and create channels for the strategic recruitment of talented new hires? And the last one, unpacking for this standard, was actively support staff through effective modeling and coaching practices using relevant digital technologies to facilitate reflective two-way feedback. So that's kind of a really big standard. So what does this mean? So what this means to me is, are administrators making resources available and are they completing professional developments? Why is it important? Well, you've got to grow your staff. Without the resources to grow your staff and yourself professionally, it doesn't happen. And if it doesn't happen, then you're running that risk of falling behind in a digital world. And our whole goal as educators is to push our kids out into the world so that they can survive in a global economy, in a global society. And our society is going digital. Any way you look at it, is going digital. Also, what does this mean? It means to make available resources for student development and their needs. So students must learn how to properly live and survive in a digital age and within a global economy or society. Lack of jeopardize the futures for all learners, and us as individuals is when we get older, because whether I like to think about it as these kiddos that are sitting in my classroom now are the ones that are going to be running our society tomorrow. And I want to make sure that when I'm old and I can no longer work, I'm being taken care of. So I want to make sure that they're good. New hire recruitment. I mean, obviously you want to get the best first. You don't want to have to wait until everybody's taken. And it's hard. It's hard when you're past that recruiting season and you kind of get, I wouldn't say what's left over, but sometimes that's, the ones that didn't get picked up the first round. It's almost like the NFL or the NBA draft. You want to get the first one. You want to get the first pick first. So you have to make yourself look, and you have to market yourself with technologies in a way that will bring in new hires. Lastly, model and coach responsible use of technology and feedback. You lead by example. You become available for your people and eliminate double standards. If you're going to tell your teachers and your staff not to be on social media, posting inappropriate pictures, you need to not be doing the same thing. And unfortunately, I've seen it happen. So administrators also need to model. All right. So the school that I did my internship in is Grover C. Fields Middle School. We are a traditional public 6 through 8 middle school. We are predominantly white population. And you can see from our highest population to our second highest population, there is a huge gap. So a lot of our, I guess you could say, our students, their parents are of a higher profession, such as attorneys, doctors, really of those professional, higher seeking, paying jobs. We also have a large population of military families and military students. The enrollment. So I always find this interesting from 2018 to 2024, how it really declined and then it spiked back up. Well, if we notice here, that huge dip was when COVID happened. We were also going through an administration change during this time. And that's significant to the technology portion of it because of what was available in our district and how students were being taught at the time. Our demographics, so in 2021 and 2022, the percentage of economically disadvantaged was 28% versus 23. It jumped up to 43%. So, and at the bottom chart, you can see where it takes a big dip between 2015 and then it starts to climb back up. We've actually, this 2015, we did a redistricting. And when we did that redistricting, there was a lot of those students that would come from different backgrounds they were moved to a different school. But Grover has had such a good reputation. We're actually seeing an incline in the diversity of our student population now. So I'm hoping that we will get more diversity as the years go on. 'Cause like I said, we do have a very good reputation within the district. Our school report card, we are a C school. We have made steady growth. It's interesting to see how COVID did impact us and how we're trying to make those gains and recover from COVID. All right, student achievement. When you're looking at our career and college ready versus our proficiency, we're pretty consistent. When you're comparing to the state in all three subjects, we do outperform the state and the district. All right. To loop back, so how does human capacity and culture look at our school? I put the vision in here because I thought it was important. Part of our culture and human capacity aligns with our vision. And for Grover C. Fields, we are an AVID school. So we align our vision very much with AVID. And so Grover C. Fields Middle School educators, families, and communities unite to foster a collaborative and supporting learning environment in which all students are prepared to be college, career, and civic ready. And again, that college, career, and civic ready is important because so much is wrapped up in technology. And in order to be college, career, and civic, you've got to be able to know how to maneuver, navigate, and operate technology. So Craven County Schools it's pretty much aligned the same way. They actually did just change their mission statement. It says Craven County Schools provides a supportive, empowering, and academically rich learning environment that inspires and engages students, staff, family, and community to build a better tomorrow. Excuse me. Which again aligns with the AVID mission because we are an AVID school. AVID's mission is to close the opportunity gap by preparing all students for college and career readiness and success in a global society. Again, global society to me means the technology piece is got to be there. I know it's global is more than technology, but it's a big part of it. All right. So what does it look like again in our school? I put our wireless access points per classroom in there because I think it's important to have that. If the administrators are ensuring that we have the resources, then one of the first things we need to do is make sure that we have the devices, that we have the access to internet and to the technologies that we need. So we do have, it's about I would say about 5 per classroom, and they're constantly updating the systems within the school. They're constantly coming in, putting in new ones. Craven County Schools is very technology heavy school or school system. And I wouldn't say everything that they do, but a lot of what they do is centered around technology. We had a superintendent come in not too long ago and said, hey, look, we were behind with technology. She got us probably more advanced. And she was really big into saying, look, if you don't catch up with technology, technology is going to take your job because you've got to be able to teach it. You've got to be able to deliver it. Administrators need to be able to move forward with it as well. And I know it's sad to say, but it's more of she was trying to say we've got to keep up with the times. Student devices, we are a one-to-one. Even though this shows a little bit lower, we are a 1-to-1 with iPads and keyboards. So this year, they're actually rolling out a brand new lot. So everyone in the district, including teachers, will receive a brand new iPad and with the keyboard. So they're really pretty nice. They're pretty nice. So our funding. Again, this goes back to the resources of how are we spending our money? So Grover C, as you can see, in the yellow is instructional equipment. So this is where the technology piece comes in of how it is that we're spending our money. And you can see here that we're spending $529,000 that's allotted to Grover in technology funds and instructional equipment. You can also kind of consider some of that technology and supplies and materials, but mainly from what I was told, it's going to fall into the instructional equipment, and that's how they have it allotted. So while it's not as much as your employee benefits and salaries, it still is a pretty good chunk of change. So how does that compare with the district? If you're looking at the yellow and you compare that with the district, Grover Seafield spends 7.8% of its budget towards this, where the county spends 8.2% and the state spends 1.8%. So in this area, you can see where we allot and we spend a lot of our money. One of the things that the district does with the iPads is that they are on lease. So anytime that they are damaged, they are fixed for free. There's this big plan that they have and they get fixed that way. And I'll go into that a little bit more because there are downfalls with it. All right. So what I did was when I was looking at your slides, Dr. Stedman, I wanted to go over, and I really thought about it in an analysis of a SOAR. Even though we're grizzlies, how do we fly? How do we soar? So I did our strengths, our opportunities. How are these actions going to be obtained, and their ratings? Again, just a reminder, Grover C. Fields is we are a middle school in New Bern, and we have about 566 students. So our strengths. All right, so our strengths is teachers are given time and resources to implement changes and grow professionally with technology. The culture is very technology and digital based. Students are 1-to-1 with iPads, and all staff members have a MacBook and other needed equipment. There's nothing that we want for technology. I mean, we have MacBooks, we have Clear Touches, we have everything. The technology ranges from simple things to more advanced. I'll give you an example. In my room, my classroom alone, when I designed it, I got a grant. I have 5 TVs in my classroom. I have a huge classroom, and every classroom has an Apple TV. So when we're working in collaborative groups, a student, maybe they're working on a problem, they actually can project to that TV, and they're under a whiteboard, and everyone will work on that problem. So if they're doing something on their iPad, it's automatically going to the TV that is projected on above the group. And I have 5 groups or in stations set up like that in the classroom. So that was a huge resource. It's been phenomenal, and it is part of our AVID program. I'm very proud of it, but it's been proven and it's shown such a significant difference just having those luxuries. Another strength are the two-way communication with our administrative is very reflective and it's welcomed. Digital tools are used to facilitate the communication that allows for feedback. There's never been a time that I've went to my administrator or I've had something go on that they have not been receptive. They're all about how can we use this technology to help our students and push our students forward. And I will say we do a pretty good job. There's not much turnover in our school, but when there is, we do a pretty good job about hiring and obtaining those new positions within the school is very competitive. It's sought after. So that says a lot for Grover itself. It says a lot for the culture and the climate. All right, so our opportunities. Because we are a one-to-one, students will often misuse the devices. Because of the leases, if they break a screen or they crack it, we're under contract. We just send it off to Apple, they fix it, they send it back, no problem. But it has downtime in the classroom. We do have backup iPads, but it's still a problem. I've now got to send this kid to go with their iPad to go to the media center or wherever it is. They've got to get a new one. They've got to get set up. They've got to do this. They've lost instructional time because of this, because really they're not being very responsible for them because they're not being held accountable. And honestly, they're not being held accountable because we just send it off. They fix it. It's part of the contract. It's already paid for. We don't have to worry about it. So I think there needs to be more of an accountability piece there for the students. So last year, I know I had one kid, he just by misuse alone, he misused his iPad just by the way he stored it, the way he carried it, even though we told him over and over again. He cracked his screen or damaged his iPad at least 5 times. And these devices, they're running anywhere between $800 to $1,000 a piece about the time they get everything with them. That's a ton of money. They're spending millions of dollars with it. I think the students need to be held accountable. Now, so how can we combat that? Well, I think we need to have more strict guidelines on how to properly handle the devices in school and the expectations. And I think they need to be taught. So many times they're misused. They go home, parents use them. They're looking up airline tickets. They're doing this, they're doing that. They're just not used properly. They're used more of a personal device than they are an educational device. And I don't think if we're going to spend that much money, let's make it educational, not so much personal. And a way a lot of companies and a lot of websites are getting through is because they're establishing themselves as educational websites to get through the firewall, but they're actually not. So who needs to be involved? Our administrator, our teachers, our parents, students, everyone. And I would like to see this at the beginning of the 2024-2025 school year. I've actually part of a team that when we roll out the new iPads, that there will be some changes, and we're working on that throughout the summer. Another one. Cyberbullying is huge. So if you look at our teacher working conditions survey, this one was our largest one. So 35.14% agree that cyberbullying is a problem within our school, and 16.22% strongly agreed that it was a problem. To me, that is huge. This was more than smoking and vaping. This was more than physical attacks. This was more than any other category for discipline. And I think it's quite sad that we're hiding behind our screens and that we've created a culture where students are hiding behind the screens. Again, we need to teach students how to properly use those. And so in order to do that, I think, and sometimes it's happening within the classroom, but I think it's just a lack of knowledge of how educators and teachers do not know how to properly monitor, and how students can be so sneaky with the devices. They don't know how to properly monitor and watch for those. There are programs out there where it can be monitored and locked down. And I think we need more professional development on that. The teachers need to be taught more and shown more ways to monitor so it doesn't disrupt instructional time, because cyberbullying is a huge issue in today's society and it needs to stop. Again, who? Administration, students, teachers, and parents. Okay. And the last one for this one is, I think we need to build that content knowledge and enhance the pedagogy. We need to have ongoing professional development. Technology is constantly changing. And as it changes, we need to be able to constantly have updates. We used to have what we call the 3 Ts. Every month, a a grade level would have to take care of the 3 T's. Treats, so you had to bring snacks. You had the technology, and then you had tips. So you had to give some kind of classroom management tip or some kind of curriculum tip. You had to come up with something new with technology, and then you had to bring the snacks. And so that was the 3 T's, and it was very effective because we were always kept up to date with what was going on and the good technology that was out there. All right. So, yep, I think that one. Sorry about that. All right. So how do we rate? If I'm looking at all of these, I do think that we meet it. However, because technology changes, it's very quickly that we can fall behind. So I think we need to constantly stay on it and never become complacent or comfortable. I think there needs to be a constant movement of moving forward with that. Okay. So my second, or excuse me, artifacts, this is what it would look like. Hiring, just some pictures of what some things that are being taken out. Some professional development opportunities. There was a picture right here, and I apologize, my computer's not bringing it up. Just some things that are constantly ongoing. We do have technology coaches within the district, and they're great. So, okay. The last one, number 4, is personal growth and connectedness. This one was really a personal one. The way I interpreted it is, as Amber says, these are very subjective, but I felt it was more of a to the person itself, but it really monitors administrators will develop a personal learning network and demonstrate a dedication for continued growth and excellence. So to me, this is telling me how are administrators doing this? What are they doing that I can see? If I'm unpacking it, it says reflect on, share, and model emerging promising practices regarding effective use of technology for continuous growth, instructional gain, and communication with stakeholders. The second one was to connect with and learn from educators, administrators, and industry experts locally, nationally, and globally. Evaluate emerging and current technologies for their potential to enhance the learning environment. It keeps going back. I do apologize. So what does this mean to me? It means that it needs to be engaging. We need to engage and reflect in practices, not to become comfortable. We need to understand how we can improve our practices so we can be better prepared as professionals and for our personal growth. Participate regularly and collaboratively. Collaboration has been proven to be effective, and it gives opportunities to share with others. We learn from others. Stay current. That's a huge one when we're talking about technology in the digital age, because it does change so much. It's very important that we stay current so we can be prepared, and that if we're not prepared, then how can we effectively prepare our students for the future? The SOAR analysis for this one. So again, this one was a little bit harder because I felt that it was very personal. But when I'm looking at my administrators and I'm thinking, what is it that they're doing? They do professional developments, and I know the district does the connection part. There's ISTE, there's AVID. We always do some type of Infinite Campus. We have district coaches. They're constantly modeling use and ethics. It's one of those things. If I don't see them on, social media, posting inappropriate things, by not doing something is modeling proper use. And I will say before we purchase anything, before we do anything, our administrators are pretty good about analyzing the technologies prior to. There's been times I've seen someone come up with an idea, say, hey, let's do this. They spend a lot of money, and then it turned out not to be what they want it to be. I will say that our administrators are pretty good about doing that. Our district is pretty good about doing that, kind of vetting those sites before we do anything. So, our opportunities. Well, again, the standard was really kind of hard for me because I felt that it was personal. I don't see it within our administrators that much. So perhaps we do need some more sharing. We do need some more visibility of that. And while they will vet programs before purchasing, there needs to be more of a procedure for that, I believe, so that they're not the only ones doing that. I mean, maybe teachers, it gives more empowerment to the teachers. Maybe the teachers can go out and they can do something of this as well. Always more professional development. I would never say that there's no need for professional development when it comes to technology because it changes so much. There's always an opportunity for growth there. Even in the current, when you're using something and you've used the same program for years, there's updates, there's something new, there's something to learn. As far as the actions, request a streamlined method for how we can analyze the emerging technologies, perhaps maybe make a team for it rather than it just kind of solely be on our administrators. And then we can delegate that down and we can help that empowerment. Enhance relationships within the district with technology personnel. I don't think our administrators or we have the best relationship with the district when it comes to the technology connections. I do think that there could be some mending that goes on there. Not saying that anyone's done anything wrong, not that. It's just, there seems to be tension, and I don't think there needs to be tension because we're a team, we're working together, and I think we need to work together. So sometimes I think it's where maybe the teachers don't necessarily understand the job of the technicians, and they don't understand what it's like to be in a classroom. So I would like, there needs to be more connection there. All right, so our ratings. This one again was really hard because it was very personal. So I put that we met it. However, I put it with an asterisk because I don't think that we're where we need to be yet. So it's like kind of like riding a bicycle. You're either just starting out, you can balance the bike, or you can really balance the bike and you can do tricks on it. We're not to that point. I think we're still a little wobbly. I think we can balance it, but we're still wobbly and we need work on that. So, and I rated us on that all the way down. So, yeah, I was sorry. Oh no. This was artifacts, and for some reason it's not showing up. This was just pictures again of what the administrators do. I do apologize, it's not coming up. So, whew.
Okay, great job, Renee. Great job. And one of the things I can say about both of you and Amber both, you have really enlightened me on some things that that I was not aware of, and I appreciate that. I'm glad the two of you collaborated to begin with, and that you did not repeat that information. That's good leadership. That's good planning. So I'm glad the two of you did that. That meant a lot. You did a great job unpacking those two standards. I like the terminology, the verbiage that you use. Um, I did some math while you were showing the demographics of your school, and while it is a largely white student population, I looked, all the other equals 245 students.
Mhm.
So when you look at it, it's not as undiverse as you think it is.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's like in my county, it's just basically probably where people live.
Yep.
Why that has turned out the way it has turned out, but it's really, but I saw the growth trend as well. So there is I mean, when you look at the other population, to me, there is a lot of diversity. It's just, it is overpowered by the white population there. I love the way when you unpacked it, that you said, okay, now what does this mean? And I've learned this about you, Renee, over the course. I like this because you just put it in layman's terms, and I like that. You know, this is what it said, but this is what it means. This is what I think it means, and I like the way that you put it out. I was amazed at how much you knew about the finances of your school. I mean, you had full knowledge. They gave you full, not that is really that's a rarity almost, you know, but you had full knowledge of it and you had a full understanding of it. That's what impressed me. So kudos for that.
Thank you.
I love your SOAR analysis with both of them. That helped me understand it a lot. But this is one of my biggest takeaways with this.
Okay.
You talked about the problems,
Mm-hmm.
but you came with solutions to the problems. And that's what we do as leaders, as good leaders. You know, it's okay to identify problems, but don't just leave it there. You already you have a plan of action, and it's implemented. So I am highly impressed, you know, with that. And you're right. That fourth standard, it reminds me of, you know, the growth plans that teachers have to do every year. That's a growth plan for administrators. So you recognize that, you know, my teachers have to do it at this level, but administrators need to do it at this level. And you know, you need to recognize these are the areas that I need improvement in, and you need to work toward those improvements. Great job. Any comments or questions for Renee?
Renee, I think you did a wonderful job. Like Dr. Stedman said, you know, really a very thorough job. I love the SOAR. It was just very easy to understand. It was well laid out, well organized. Both you and Amber just did a phenomenal job tonight.
Thank you. They were quite big, so I felt like I was running out of breath in some of those because I was trying to run through it. So I apologize if I was.
No apologies needed. You handled it well.
Thank you.
Great job. Very, very pleased. And
Thank you.
I'm going to turn it over to Mandy now, who is going to show the video for Paulette. I think all of you were with us at the beginning when we said that Paulette is dealing with some major family issues right now with her brother, and hospice has been called in. So do keep her in your thoughts and prayers. But Mandy, if you'll turn it over, and this is the last, there's only one standard here. So this is the last of the 5 digital competency standards.
Those of you who know about my brother's cancer, I want to thank you for your thoughts and prayers. I covet every single one of them. And just pray for comfort and strength, especially for my mom. Okay, so I'm here today to talk to you about the North Carolina Digital Learning Competency for School Administrators, number 5, which involves the community. The standard states that administrators will engage all stakeholders in the purpose and function of the school, leveraging multiple types and points of connection and communication to ensure the constant, effective flow of information and input. To me, this means that administrators will ensure educational leaders possess the necessary skills and knowledge to lead effectively in a digital age, fostering a safe, innovative, and supportive learning environment for inside and outside stakeholders. So what does this look like at HPA? Our website includes many resources and links to social media. Our school also provides Parent Square for communication. Parent Square involves grades, attendance, and even our report cards. IEPs are also sent home via Parent Square. Attendance as well. Our website includes video messages from students and the superintendent. And we have a virtual academy in conjunction with Smartburg Community College, dual enrollment, and we have translated registration forms to try and reach our ML population. Three of our major strengths at HPA includes one, our website. As you can see on this picture, you have a find it fast portion.
I'm not sure what's going on, you guys. It just started to buffer and buffer and buffer.
Okay.
Let's see.
Three of our major strengths at HPA includes one, our website. As you can see on this picture, you have a find it fast portion.
It looks like it's going to stop there, Mandy. This is what I'll do. I will reach out to, if you will do this for me, because I don't want to, if you'll reach out to Paulette and just tell her that if she can go back and fix it and then send it to me
It
when
may
she gets
just
it.
be, it's in Google Drive right now, but I also downloaded it. So hang on one second and let me
Okay.
see. Hold on. I will see
Okay.
if I can get it up here. Download it just
Worst case scenario, if it doesn't work, we'll get it fixed and we'll email it to you so that you can look at it.
All right.
I
I
mean,
think I have it up. All right, I have it up, but it looks like it's not going to let me forward it at all. So do you want me to start it over, or do you want me to just try to send you the link to it so you can?
let's do that. And the people, all of you look at it, but then this will give the chance for the people that are looking at it, because it will, I think it'll take too much time. And you can tell she was under a lot of stress even doing this. You can hear it in her voice. So, you know, and this is a good lesson for administrators. Sometimes you've got to let your mind and your heart. Remember when I told you got to let these two things come together in working with things? This is one of those situations where you have to think about things, and yet with your heart you have to do the right things. Okay, so you just always remember that. Let's do that, and we will get it out, and it'll serve the same purpose. You'll get to see the video. Well, it'll serve the same purpose, and I'll do the same thing as well when, Mandy, if you can get that worked out sometime. And again, you've got time. If you don't get it today or tomorrow, we'll work with Paulette's time, and you'll get it hopefully before the week's over with. Okay.
Do any of you techie people have any idea why it's doing that? No? Okay. All right. So I'll try to put it in my Google Drive also and see if that works, but I have it downloaded. So I'll try to get it to you as best as I can.
And I'll look at it too. She sent it to me as well. I am not techie, but I'll look at it. Okay. We'll get that. So with that in mind, let's, great job. Great job. And I'm sure Paulette's is equally as good. And we'll cover that whenever that time gets here again. Please keep her in your thoughts and prayers, and her mom as well. But let's look at, in conclusion, before we do that, let me remind you, did everybody get my, you got the information about Dr. Lamb and the interviewing session next week at 7 o'clock, which means that we come on at 6. Now, what will that look like? We're going to bring closure to, our class. We will mainly, I'll address whatever I need to address. We'll look at basically where everybody is in task stream at that time with the remaining things that need to be completed. We'll talk about that case study 3, and then hopefully I'll have it by then, but we got a little surprise for you based on the information that you have sent to Dr. Stone, and I hope that we can conclude by doing that, and then just closing with saying our goodbyes, and then I will close out, and then you'll sign back on. It won't take the whole hour. You'll sign back on at 7 o'clock and join Dr. Lamb's session, and the last assignment that you will owe me is your reflection of that session with Dr. Lamb, and to do your exit, make sure you do your exit survey as well, if you haven't done that. And that will be it. Okay. So everybody good on that? So with that in mind, let's talk about your Strengths Finder assessment or activity in closing. I'm just looking up there. Let's start with Mandy, and I'll just do round robin, go around. Mandy, let's start with you. What was your biggest takeaway from that assignment? And then just briefly, were there any ahas or surprises with your, I remember what a lot of you said, but I can't remember all of it. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I knew I was really type A, so it was good that I was an arranger. And then I was positivity, but like it was so interesting because I think I was the only one in our group that had something from every single category that was a strength. And I kind of had to think about it. I didn't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing, because I mean, does that just mean that I'm well-rounded? Does that mean that I didn't know what it meant? I was the only person, so I had to go back and think about that.
Just know that none of it's bad. So don't
Right.
take any of it as bad. Just look at it as a way of a self-analysis of who you are and where, and you may not agree with all of it. That's perfectly okay too. But it does give you something to think about, and you may say, well, I've never thought about it. Maybe it is true, and you need to look at that a little more closely. So, but no, it's not a bad thing.
So my strengths, from 1 down to 5, I was an arranger, positivity, a learner, communication, and developer. So.
And
Dana?
I want to say, Mandy, knowing you and
ahead.
working with you on your Zoom team, I was not surprised that you had a strength in every category, because that is what you bring to the table every time we meet. So I was not surprised about that.
Well, thanks, Julie.
And I saw Elizabeth do a thumbs up on that. Okay, Dina?
So most of mine fell in the executing and the relationship building categories. Unfortunately, I did not have anything in the influencing or strategic thinking categories. And I was a little stumped by that, because based on the role that I'm in, I always have to think on my feet. there's a lot of thinking, and I have to think strategically as well, especially when faced with certain situations. So I was actually shocked there was nothing that came up in those categories. However, my dominant trait was developer, meaning supporting others. I totally agree with that. Before I was an assistant principal, I was a literacy coach, MTSS coordinator. So supporting and helping others, absolutely. Harmony, peacemaker. Yes, I try to, always come up with some kind of resolution that meets the needs of everyone in the group. Achiever, I told my group that I'm surprised that was not my dominant trait, just because I'm very driven and I'm always thinking about the next opportunity. I have no tolerance for anybody who doesn't work as hard as I do. Um, Consistency, treating everybody fairly, absolutely, and disciplined. I'm really driven again, never miss a deadline. If you tell me, Dr. Stedman, that something is due, I will stay up as long as I have to make sure I meet that deadline. So did I learn something about myself? I need to be better at maybe strategically thinking about certain situations. But other than that, there were no other surprises.
Just remember that what you saw were the dominant results. It doesn't mean that you don't possess the others.
Okay.
It just means that what you saw were dominant over that.
Okay.
And remember, in your role, you're still emerging. So just
Yes,
remember that.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Good. Okay, Liz?
But I enjoyed the activity.
Well, good. Liz?
I enjoyed it too. And it's interesting that I'm following you because my top was achiever, focus, and then my fifth was discipline, which all come from the executing themes, which I wasn't really surprised by those, but my next was learner, which is part of strategic. And then I was not surprised by the other one, which is competition, because I have always played sports and I have enjoyed that. My worry is that I did not have anything as relationship building. But when I shared with the team, I did do this at the end of the day after going back to school as part of the admin team to talk about goals and approaching to-do lists to get everybody ready. And so what it told me is that, and even though I'm an achiever and I'm, focused, I need to step back and think about relationships in the midst of the to-do list and the importance of that. So that's kind of what my takeaway
Well,
was.
good. Then that's an excellent takeaway. Stacy?
Mhm.
Okay, so my number one was discipline, and I would say that very much describes me. But it's funny because my friends say that there's a school Stacy and a summer Stacy, and she is two totally different people. Like in the summer, like cooking and laundry, all of that goes out the window, but in the school year, it's so regimented. So discipline, I felt like really described me well. Um, in the relationship building, mine was a relator, which is described in you. You find deep satisfaction in working hard with friends to achieve a goal, which is very true about me. But if you catch that keyword with friends, I'm not always the best with people that I have not already built a strong connection to, which can be a problem, obviously, as I go into administration. And so I think that was something that really made me think about, reflect in the fact that I know I like to achieve goals and work closely with people that I'm very aligned to, emotionally, spiritually, all the things. But I've got to work on achieving goals with, my employees, my teachers. And then my others were significance, focus, and futuristic. So I think they all really tie into I like to work hard to achieve goals to make a difference. That kind of sums me up pretty well.
Right. And it'll be interesting after your first year as an assistant principal this year. It would be interesting at the end of the year if you took that again to kind of see if things
See if
were
it changed.
different
Yeah,
change. Yeah.
I have to keep that in mind.
Okay. Um, um, Doug. Can you hear me, Doug?
Doug's was the opposite of mine. We connected on that.
Okay.
Sorry, I couldn't get off mute.
Okay, that's okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Can you hear me?
Okay, you're cutting in and out, Doug.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
All right. So for me, mine was all relational. That was the only category I had. The top was relationships, and then I had harmony and adaptability were my top ones, which says to me that as I move forward and get into an admin position, that I kind of need to have people on my team that are stronger in other areas, because I only seem to be strong in relationship building.
Well, but and those are good things to recognize, and you probably do more than you realize, but those are areas that, and that you know that you need to work harder on. And that was the whole purpose of this, to see this is basically where I am. This is where I need to be. Good job, Doug. Julie? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's what
Do what,
I
Doug?
think mine made sense for me because of the background.
Okay, good. Good job. Julie?
My results were almost exactly the same as Dina's. I had no strengths in the strategic thinking and influencing, and I was just kind of like, oh man, that's what I felt like I needed to be an administrator. But my major strengths was in relationship building, and my number one was a developer, which means I see the potential in others, and that is me to a T as a coach, as a special education coach and for induction teachers. Like that's all I see is the potential and to grow the potential and then to see them succeed. So I wasn't surprised about my strengths, but it made me really reflect on areas that I might need to grow stronger in.
Okay, great job. Elizabeth, I want you to speak to Julie about what you just put in the chat.
Well, and I got to kind of make sure she knew that in our group. You can't say no strengths because it just was your top 5. It was your 6th strength. It didn't just pop up yet.
I like the way you said that. Thank you. Thank you for that correction. Did you get that, Julie? Okay. Renee?
All right, so for my first strength, and the only one in this category was relator. And for me, I don't know how many of you know, but I didn't go into teaching right away. I was actually in the Air Force for a little while. I had troops up under me. I actually owned a small business. And so relationships, and my background is in human resources. So relationships are important to me. If you don't build a relationship, everything else doesn't matter because it's not going to happen. So I was really, really happy to see that that was the first one out. My second one was a learner. I love to learn. My third one was restorative. You know, if I see something, it needs to be fixed, let's fix it. Responsibility, and then analytical. I was really happy to see that one. Anyone that knows me knows that I love numbers. They excite me. I love spreadsheets and data, and I don't know, I just get kind of geeky with that stuff. But what I didn't have was influencer, which was odd because I would almost think that an influencer, this was in my top 5, Elizabeth. So so influencer, and to build relationships, I almost think you have to have that streak or be somewhat good at it. But so what I learned was if I don't have to be well-rounded, my team has to be well-rounded. So I really only need to influence one person, or that one person influences everybody else.
Oh, well said. I like that. Oh, kudos. You've been on your best game tonight, Renee. Okay, Amber.
Thank you.
Hey, yeah, so my number one thing was achiever, which did not surprise me at all because my parents instilled that in us, like from an early age, like you're either number one or you're not. And so like I've always had that mentality of I want to be like the best at everything I do. But then really all of my other strengths were in the relationship building category, which I think also stems from my childhood of just being in a really close family where we were always together and having close family friends and relatives who had special needs, and, you know, including them and always making sure that they were a part of our family. And all of that boils down to just really my people pleasing attitude as well. So I know one area that I really need to work on is just the ability to speak up and to advocate verbally for things in situations where I might tend to just try to make everybody happy. So I know as an administrator, I can't do that. And that's definitely something I'm going to have to work on.
And I had to work on that too, but I can promise you this, as I've gotten much older, I can say what I want to say and move on. And it's a good feeling too, Amber. I mean, you get empowered as you get older. But anyway, good job, Amber. Daryl?
Okay, my computer is on the fritz, so can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, because you guys are like bing, 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 bing on my end. It's crazy. Okay, I wasn't really surprised by my results. So my strongest areas were relationships and strategic thinking, and I think that that just is me to a T. I love building relationships with people, and as my role as an instructional coach, I had to do that because if you don't have a relationship with your teachers, they're not going to listen to anything you have to say, anyways. And then as far as strategic thinking, I love to look at numbers and then find alternative routes for us to succeed. So that wasn't surprising either. The one that I thought was interesting was individualization, and that was finding unique qualities of others. And so I do like I now that I've worked with teachers, they're all different. And so just kind of pulling out their different strengths and their unique qualities so that they all can work together is something that I definitely worked on last year with our third grade team. But I wasn't surprised by my results.
Okay, good. Good job. Okay,
Thank you.
Mayra?
Hello. So I was not really surprised by mine. My top one was harmony, relator. Well, my top one was harmony, which I'm kind of a peacemaker, or peacekeeper rather. So I like to keep the peace. But the majority of my top 5 strengths were in relationship building, and I kind of attribute that to my first years of teaching. The school that I was at was really keen on building community. And so, like we went through responsive classroom training, and it was just really something that the head of the school kind of instilled. So I kind of carried that with me. And even, in my current school, which thankfully we have a small staff, small students, relationship building is important to me. I have a couple of teachers that come to me during their planning, and they vent to me, which I think it's good and bad. I definitely appreciate that they confide in me, and I try to give them constructive, feedback. And but the one trait that did kind of surprise me a little bit was consistency, because unlike some of my other classmates, I'm not consistent in, I get the job done. However, there's some things that I definitely have my strengths and weaknesses, but I do treat people the same. So when I was reading the description for consistency, it is important for me to treat everybody equally. And so that part was, when I first saw that, I was like, huh. But, the definition of it as it pertains to this quiz or assessment, I was like, yeah, I can see how I do that. So definitely wasn't too surprised by it all. And yeah,
Yeah.
that's
And I wanted to say thank you for sharing that, Mayra, but I also wanted to say I was very, very pleased to see you taking the lead as the Zoom leader on this activity as well. Good job. Okay.
yeah.
Malika, you're last but not least. Are you there? She apparently is not, but anyway, well, we will conclude with this. Great job. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for a good night. It's been a lot tonight, but I knew it would be, but it's been very informative again tonight. So again, everybody, great job. Everybody, I'm very proud of you. Finish up, go ahead and just try to knock out the rest of what you've got to do in task stream. You know what you've got to do with many of you have finished that case study already, but just be prepared next week to have some good dialogue with that. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Okay. Good night, everybody.
Good night.